What does Hazmat stand for? Hazardous materials. This refers to any substance that poses a risk to health, safety, or property during transportation. Next question. What federal agency administers hazmat transportation regulations in the U.S.? PHMSA, Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration. They write the rules that keep dangerous goods moving safely across the country. Let's move on. What regulation governs hazmat transport by road in the U.S.? 49 CFR Parts 100 to 185 Hazardous Materials Regulations. This is the legal Bible for anyone manufacturing, packaging, or hauling hazardous cargo. Next point. What CDL endorsement is required to transport hazmat? H endorsement. Earning it requires passing a comprehensive written knowledge test and a federal security screening. Let's keep going. What background check is required for the Hazmat CDL endorsement? A TSA, Transportation Security Administration, threat assessment including fingerprinting. The government checks your background to verify you do not pose a security risk before you handle dangerous materials. Next question. How often must the TSA threat assessment for hazmat be renewed? Every 5 years. You must complete the fingerprinting and background check process again to keep the endorsement valid. Let's move on. Who is disqualified from obtaining a hazmat endorsement? A person who is not a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident, or who has certain felony convictions within 7 years. Legal status and clean background records are strict prerequisites for this endorsement. Next point. How many hazard classes does the DOT recognize? 9 classes. Every hazardous material falls into at least one of these distinct categories. Let's keep going. What is Class 1 in the DOT hazard classification system? Explosives. This includes everything from fireworks to dynamite and blasting caps. Next question. What is Class 2 in the DOT hazard system? Gases, including flammable, non-flammable, and toxic gases. Propane, compressed oxygen, and chlorine gas are prime examples. Let's move on. What is Class 3 in the DOT hazard system? Flammable and combustible liquids. Gasoline, diesel fuel, and many oil-based paints sit in this class. Next point. What is Class 4 in the DOT hazard system? Flammable solids, spontaneously combustible, and dangerous when wet materials. This covers materials like pure magnesium or sodium that can ignite easily or react violently with water. Let's keep going. What is Class 5 in the DOT hazard system? Oxidizers and organic peroxides. These chemicals supply the oxygen that can cause other materials to burn intensely. Next question. What is Class 6 in the DOT hazard system? Toxic and infectious substances. This includes chemical poisons like cyanide, as well as biological hazards and medical waste. Let's move on. What is Class 7 in the DOT hazard system? Radioactive materials. This covers medical isotopes, industrial density gauges, and nuclear fuel. Next point. What is Class 8 in the DOT hazard system? Corrosive materials. Liquids or solids like battery acid or caustic soda that can dissolve steel or destroy human skin. Let's keep going. What is Class 9 in the DOT hazard system? Miscellaneous hazardous materials that do not fit other classes. This covers items like lithium batteries or dry ice that are hazardous during transit but do not fit classes 1 through 8. Next question. What is the hazmat table in 49 CFR Part 172? A list identifying hazardous materials by proper shipping name, UN number, hazard class, packing group, and labels required. It is the universal reference index for compliance in the shipping industry. Let's move on. What is a UN number? A 4-digit identification number assigned to a hazardous material for international recognition. It allows emergency crews worldwide to quickly identify a chemical regardless of language barriers. Next point. What is the difference between a UN number and a NA number? UN numbers are international. NA numbers are used only in North America for materials not internationally regulated. NA numbers help local agencies track materials that cross US and Canadian borders. Let's keep going. What is the proper shipping name, PSN? The official DOT-approved name from the hazmat table used on all shipping documents, markings, and placards. You must use this exact technical name rather than a commercial brand name. Next question. What information must appear on a hazmat shipping paper? Proper shipping name, UN number, hazard class, packing group, quantity, and 24-hour emergency contact. Missing any of these data points can result in heavy fines and unsafe emergency delays. Let's move on. Where must shipping papers be when the driver is in the cab? Within immediate reach in the seat or door pouch. They must be easily accessible to you while you are belted in the driver's seat. Next point, where must shipping papers be when the driver leaves the vehicle? In clear view on the driver's seat or door pouch, visible from outside. If you are incapacitated or away from the truck during an incident, first responders can easily grab them. Let's keep going. What is required of the 24-hour emergency phone number on shipping papers? Monitored at all times by someone with knowledge of the material who can provide emergency guidance. It cannot be an automated menu or an untrained answering service. Next question. What is Chemtrec and what is its phone number? A 24-hour chemical emergency response center at 1-800-424-9300. They provide immediate, expert technical guidance to drivers and emergency personnel during an incident. Let's move on. What is the National Response Center and when must it be called? The Federal Center at 1-800-424-8802. Called immediately when a reportable quantity of hazmat is accidentally released. It is the central point for triggering a federal environmental emergency response. Next point, what is a reportable quantity, RQ? An EPA-designated amount of a hazardous substance that, if released, requires mandatory, immediate federal notification. The threshold depends entirely on the specific environmental toxicity of the material. Let's keep going. What does RQ on a shipping paper indicate? The load contains a substance at or above the EPA reportable quantity, requiring notification if released. It acts as a direct warning to the driver that any spill is a major legal event. Next question. What are placards and what size must they be? Diamond-shaped warning signs at least 10.8 inches per side displayed on all four sides of the vehicle. They provide a clear, high-visibility warning to the public and emergency workers. Let's move on. On how many sides of a vehicle must placards be displayed? All four sides, front, rear, and both lateral sides. The hazard must be clearly identifiable no matter which way the vehicle is oriented. Next point, what distinguishes a label from a placard? Labels are small 4-inch diamonds on individual packages. Placards are large 10.8-inch diamonds on the vehicle. Labels tell you what is inside a box. Placards tell you what is inside the trailer. Let's keep going. When is a Table 1 hazmat material required to be placarded? Any quantity, with no minimum weight requirement. High-risk items like explosives or poison gas require placards even if you are carrying just one small package. Next question. When does a Table 2 hazmat material require placarding? At 1,001 pounds or more aggregate weight in the vehicle. Below 1,001 pounds, placards are optional for Table 2 items. At or above it, they are legally required. Let's move on. When is the dangerous placard permitted? When two or more Table 2 categories total 1,001 pounds and no single category requires its own placard. It streamlines placarding for mixed freight loads while still warning that hazardous items are aboard. Next point, what does Packing Group PGI indicate? Greatest danger, requiring the most stringent packaging. The packing groups, I, 2, or 3, dictate the strength of the container required to prevent leaks. Let's keep going. What is a poison inhalation hazard, PIH? A gas or liquid toxic when inhaled, requiring a toxic inhalation hazard placard in addition to other required placards. These fumes are deadly in small concentrations and require strict route and safety compliance. Next question. What is the ERG and where must it be kept? A publication providing first responder guidance for hazmat emergencies, kept in the cab accessible to the driver. The Emergency Response Guidebook is an absolute requirement for managing the critical moments of a spill. Let's move on. What does the yellow section of the ERG contain? Materials listed numerically by UNID number, cross-referenced to guide pages. Note: sorted out the color mix-up here. Yellow is your numerical lookup tool. Next point, what does the blue section of the ERG contain? Materials listed alphabetically by proper shipping name, cross-referenced to guide pages. And blue is your alphabetical index when you only have the name. Let's keep going. What does the green section of the ERG contain? Initial isolation and protective action distances for toxic inhalation and water-reactive materials. This section outlines the minimum safety zones required to keep the public out of harm's way. Next question. What is the correct action when a hazmat leak is discovered during transport? Stop safely away from people and ignition sources, notify emergency services, and follow the ERG without personal repair attempts. Do not put yourself downwind or expose yourself to the chemicals to try to patch a leak. Let's move on. What attendance rule applies to vehicles carrying Division 1? 1. Explosives must be attended at all times by a qualified person aware of the hazard and able to move the vehicle. You cannot leave a load of high explosives unsupervised at a truck stop or rest area. Next point, what is the minimum convoy distance between vehicles carrying Division 1? 1. Explosives? At least 300 feet. This space prevents a blast in one truck from immediately detonating the cargo in the next truck. Let's keep going. Where is parking a loaded hazmat vehicle prohibited? Near open flames, within 300 feet of tunnels, bridges, or buildings, and near crowds. Isolating the truck reduces the potential damage if the load becomes unstable or catches fire. Next question. What is a security plan and who must have one? A written plan required for carriers of high-consequence dangerous goods covering personnel, en route, and shipment security. It ensures the carrier has active steps in place to prevent the cargo from falling into the wrong hands. Let's move on. What are high-consequence dangerous goods, HCDG? Materials capable of mass casualties if weaponized, including certain explosives, toxic inhalation hazards, and radioactive materials. These materials carry elevated risks and demand heightened driver awareness. Next point, what must a driver do if the shipment appears tampered with? Do not move the vehicle, notify law enforcement and the carrier, and follow the security plan. Moving a potentially compromised load can escalate a security threat. Let's keep going. What is the compatibility rule when loading multiple hazmat classes? Certain classes must be segregated because they react dangerously, for example, explosives away from corrosives. Loading incompatible classes together can lead to spontaneous fires, toxic fumes, or explosions inside your van. Next question. What must a driver do if asked to load incompatible hazmat materials? Refuse the load. As the commercial operator, you have the final